Hey guys, welcome to the Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. It's Jason Samkovic. Today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the power of oaks for hunting. They're a tremendous asset because of the time of year they come down. So we want to take a look at it. Here in Michigan, we got two types of oaks. We got white oaks and we got red oaks. These are the two. Over my left shoulder here, as I'm looking at it on the camera here, that tree right there, that is a white oak back there. And in this tree right here, this is a red oak. I'll actually, when we're done talking here, I'll zoom in and I'll show you each one and I'll show you some of the tops. But basically a white oak, very easy to distinguish because of the round lobes, as you see here, round lobe leaves. That is a white oak, okay? Pointy leaves on there, that is a red oak. White oak here, red oak here. White oak, red oak. So you can see that's how you can tell the difference. But I will, like I said, pull you in and show you some of the differences. I'll show you up at the top. But the key thing to remember here is that oaks, the reason it's such an important aspect for us for deer hunting is because oaks come alive during our hunting season. All right, they're a major fall food source for the deer. Knowing that, you have to take some things into consideration. You can't just say, okay, an oak is an oak is an oak, and you go hunt the oaks. Okay, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot bigger things at play here that have to be taken into consideration, such as what oaks do they want when? Which ones are going to produce first? How often do they do it? What trees are dropping at a certain time? Which ones are the deer gravitating to before other ones? Which oak trees will the deer hit during daylight? Okay, it's not just as simple as saying, oh, there's oaks, so hunt the oaks and the deer get it. You hear that all the time, hunt the oaks, hunt the oaks. So much more to that. Okay, so much more involved to it. And while we're at it, hit the subscribe button down below so you get more of this information for you. But we're going to talk about these oaks. So what you have here in Michigan, you have two types of oaks that really matter. There's variations of those, but basically you have a white oak, which is a very sweet oak acorn without a lot of tannic acid in it, okay? And then you have red oaks, which are going to be high tannic acid amounts in them. Both are very good oaks for the deer, but they have to be treated separately. See, a white oak, which is this tree right there, that smaller one right, I'm trying to see it in the camera, right there, that one right there, that tree. When that white oak drops acorns, the second they hit the ground, they are like gold for deer. Now this red right here, this red oak, when he hits the ground, his acorns are worthless right off the bat. Deer don't want anything to do with them because of the amount of tannic acid that's in them. So a white oak hits the ground and deer hit them like a vacuum cleaner and suck up every single one of them they can find, wipe an entire tree out, move on to the next tree, wipe that tree out, move on to the next tree, wipe that tree out. Okay, it's a process that happens. Red oaks hit the ground, they have to sit there for a while. They need to have rain, snow, sun. They need to be leached out is what has to happen. So you get 4, 5, 8 good rains in there that hit these and soak those acorns and then let them dry out and the sun hits them and leaches it and gets rid of these tannic acids out of them. They become less bitter and they're more tolerable and easier on a deer's stomach so they can eat them. This is by design. This is not an accident, okay? This happened this way on purpose. It's designed so that the deer and the wildlife will eat the white oaks when they drop. And the white oaks will basically tide a deer over from September, you know, here in Michigan, northern Michigan where I'm at, it's usually mid-September through mid-October. Okay, that's that white oak range in there. Then what happens is the reds are falling at the same time. They're hitting the ground at the same time, but the deer aren't touching them. So then what happens is by the time you get into about the 1st of November, through the snows that come in mid-December or end of December and make it too deep for them to paw and dig them up and smell them anymore, that time frame, those reds are there and powerful and waiting for them. When the snow melts in the spring, there's still reds left on the ground that were covered up by the snow that give those deer a shot and a boost before the greenery comes up once the snow melts. If throughout the winter you get a January thaw or something like that where that snow pack comes down, those reds are available to give those deer a boost. Okay, it's all done by design. It's Mother Nature's design for it to be this way. Knowing that, you have to hunt accordingly. Okay, white oaks first. Okay, if you have a season opener like here in October where we are, the white oaks are already on the ground. They're already been hit because they started falling a couple weeks before that. So by the time we get to them on October 1st, half of that season of white oaks is already over before we even get to be in the woods. It's kind of a tricky scenario for us. But if you're in a state with a September opener, those white oaks can be a gold mine for you, especially around September 15th. And it does vary based on where you are. But knowing that, white oaks are what you want to focus on first. Save the red oaks until later towards the rut, towards that kind of stuff. Late season kind of things, that's when the reds come in and become a valuable food source. How do you hunt these? Whites matter first, then reds, but there is a process to it. See, with the whites, because of the fact that these deer are going to hit them like a vacuum cleaner, you have to know what trees matter when and how. And you have to know what order to hit these trees in. And you have to know what the deer's progression is going to be from when they exit their bedding through feeding, through right when they get out of bed, through the nighttime, on their way back to bedding. They're hitting those oaks like crazy, but you have to understand the order of that. Basically, the thickest stuff you can find first is most important. And then the wider more open oaks like you see here in my yard, we're in my property right here, but you can see how open this is. This is nighttime kind of stuff or last minute stuff. Don't think they won't hit this come, October 20th, they won't make it out here during daylight for these white oaks because by then the competition gets bigger. So it does matter. If you're part of my bow hunting whitetails course, then you're going to see a lot more of this because this video you're seeing right now is just an intro into that one. Because what I'm going to do inside the bow hunting whitetails course is I'm taking this way further and I'm actually going to pull you in at Cyber Scout and I'm going to show you the pecking order of what trees will get hit when first, where you should hunt based on the time of season it is, which ones you can tell where you're going to go next, how you set up if you're coming back the next weekend, what that progression will be and where you want to be, how to hunt the red oaks in that progression when the time gets there. So I'll show you that stuff in the course. It's in there. If you want info on the course, it's in the description of this video down below for you to find out. But that's not stuff I'm just putting out here for everybody. It's in that course if you want it. But I am going to now take and show you the difference between a white oak tree, a red oak tree, the leaves up there so you can see it. I'll explain a little bit here to you as I'm doing it on how you can tell which trees are going to drop when and how. I'm giving you a ton of information in here, but like I said, you want the meat and potatoes of this, it's in the course for you, so definitely check it out. All right, let me pull you off the tripod and get you figured out here. All right, here first we have a white oak. This is what you're looking for. This is that white oak. Again, you can tell it if you look around on the ground, you can see all these leaves with round lobes, okay? Now we're right next to a red, so you're gonna see some reds in here too, and they do usually grow together like this. No big deal there for them. It's not like they're set, but you see the white or the round lobe leaves. And in this tree right here, this is a white oak tree. You can tell it by this shaggy bark that you see on here, this bark right here like this, it just pops right off. This is a good way to identify a white oak. But this is your white oak tree. They make phenomenal tree stands trees. They make a lot of great things. I wonder if I can zoom on this while I'm doing it and show you the leaves here. Let's see. But you can see the round lobe leaves on those leaves. And now if this was this time of year right now, if you had binoculars, you could come out here and you could actually look up here and start to see those acorns forming on there. I don't know if this lens is going to get in there close enough to do it, to show that to you. I don't think so. But you can actually with binoculars start to see those white oak acorns starting to form on there and starting to get ready to drop. But this basically right here is your example of a white oak tree right here. Now a red, we come over here, we look here, we have a red. Now if you're looking at a red, you can see that that bark is much thicker. Okay, this is a lot thicker. You're not peeling that off by your hand. That's a red oak, rock solid, strong kind of bark on there, a lot deeper in the bark. And you can tell it again down here. You can see the pointy leaves with all the points on the end, like that. Right, where am I at here? Right there. You can see the points on them rather than being round lobe. Now, like I said, you might see a round lobe leaf in here too as well, because we do have a red or a white right next to it, but you can see what I'm talking about with those points on there. That's what makes it I'm going to turn that off, sorry, hang on here. But that's what makes a red oak is that setup right there. The reds usually get bigger I believe they do get bigger, but you can see up in there too. And again, same thing. If you're using binoculars, you'll be able to see out on the ends there. You'll start to see on the end of the branches where all those acorns are forming up there. And you can tell if the tree's gonna, if it's gonna be a good producer. Oaks do vary. I heard somebody say that red oaks were every year, every other year, and white oaks were every 5 years. I've heard a bunch of different things, and I've actually never took the time to look it up and see for sure. Because what I do is I just go to my hunting areas, and I do that in in August, end of August, on a rainy day, and I go out there with my binoculars and I go scout, and I say, oh yep, that tree's good or it's not good, and then I move on to a tree that is good, and I pay attention to where these are so I know what's going on. But the oaks are a tremendous food source, something worth having. You got to pay attention to these, because if you're hunting food sources, even if you're hunting bedding, it is going to be the food sources that dictate where bedding happens. Well, there you have it, guys. That kind of covers that oak tree, white oak versus red oak, and the value and the benefit of them. But this is a tremendous thing. You have to know this, but it's way more than knowing oaks, okay, or even just a red oak and a white oak. You need to know which ones are hit when, how the deer are going to hit them, which trees are preferred sources. All these variables come into play. If you're part of the bow hunting whitetails course, you already know this. Stick around, don't leave, because we got a lot more video to this where I'm going to take you in, show you exactly, pinpoint how they're going to come from their bedding, their transition through the night, what they're going to do. I'm going to show you all that kind of stuff. If you're not in a bow hunting whitetails course, the information, like I said, is down below for you. If you have no interest in that and you already know what you're doing, and this is a refresher for you, hope it brings a couple tips to you right there. And get out there and find where these oak trees are so you can use them to your advantage. They're an awesome source. I don't hunt food sources very often. I do hunt white oak trees occasionally in the earlier season, but even though I don't hunt food sources, it's mandatory that I know where they are and I know what the deer are going to do. If you don't, in order to hunt them along an A and a B path, you have to know the A and the B path. If you don't know the food in the exact area of the food, you do not know a B spot. You only know an A. I prefer to hunt closer to A, which is bedding, but I cannot predict the movement pattern without knowing A and B. Understanding oaks, which ones are hit when, how, and what, that makes the B for a lot of us in the fall time. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Again, if you're in the course, stick around. Don't go nowhere.